everybody, Stacey Kennedy here. Welcome to my channel. As some you might know by now, I'm an active singer and cover artist on Smule, the singing app, and I share a lot of that on my channel as well, along with other things that I have edited lately. And earlier today, I came up with an idea of what to blog about. And I'm glad I wrote it down. Frankly, I had quite a day today. It wasn't too exhausting or so, but I really feel the need to just get a subject or two out of the way. So I think I'm going to do that now. Today on my Adult Autism Life, and I think this is part 5 or part 6, either way. Well, I'll find out. I'll figure it out. What I wanted to talk about was the importance of inner peace and unleashed struggles of communications. So the importance of inner peace. I feel that's an absolute plus, a plus for for anybody. Inner peace. It just comes with physical, mental, emotional health. It's what brings quite a balance and good health to everything, I've taken liberty and I've taken, I've had the principles of pleasure to, learn things in life or so, and to know things. And not only maybe there's importance to knowledge and to, just knowing your way through life. And not knowing everything is fine too, because that's where the inner peace comes in. And I think a lot of us question ourselves as like, gosh, I probably take a lot of time, maybe too much time off for myself. I guess I'm speaking in terms of me, right? We're all different, but I'm hoping this is coming out the way I want it to. That, I feel somehow while we're doing something else, there's always something we're missing out on. And I feel that it's just something that should not be taken too much time spending on or regretting about or so. Because, how would I say? I can always edit this too if I'm pausing way too much. But anyways, yeah, peace, especially for those on the autism spectrum, peace, even in between, I don't know, running a half mile or so in between classes here and there. No matter how much free time I had, it's just like I could finally take time off to not actually think of homework, not think of this or that or so. No matter how much pleasure, well, not that homework ever brought me pleasure, but I'm just saying in terms of, even when something does bring me pleasure and I enjoy doing it, and sometimes I just got to have I just got to have my mind blank. And I'm not to say that, life is just about peace. I would like it to be most of the time. There's that saying too that where most say, I'll have peace, or I'll get more sleep when I'm dead. I know that sounds like harsh, but I've heard that saying. I feel though, as a live human being, peace is important when you're alive as well. And gosh, inner peace. My meme having popcorn, funny. Just I'd rather have this than dinner at the moment. And yeah, one of the best things that brings peace is hydration. You know, water and even if it's there's a part in your day or in your life, it may seem a bit boring. But sometimes I'd rather have that than to have so much on my plate, right? And as an autistic person or a person on the autism spectrum, and there's a spectrum of like pretty much everything, not just autism, but yeah, I'd say it is 10 times highly important, you know, for someone like me on the spectrum, highly for others that can relate to that, peace, inner peace, it's so important. Otherwise I would not be able to focus and concentrate or the next day or so. It's just like you know, gotta have this in my life. And it's interesting, I used to just still do like map out of like, okay, what can I do for 5 minutes every day, or every 5 minutes every day, or every hour? The most simplest things, like that has to do with breath work, even just a little movement too. I mean, I used to be a master or mistress of some particular things, and now I just don't think about it anymore. There's that moment of somewhat regret coming to me right now, because it's like, why would I want to quit something, or why did I quit something that I used to enjoy? It's not necessarily I did not enjoy it. It became, when something becomes a lot more like work, you know, something that is work and play all at once. I mean, that's great too, right? It gives me it gives me perspective too, that would not be singing as often as I'd like to, or you know, doing sound and movement as often as I could, or basically things that I like to do, like for health and for pleasure, and suddenly sometimes I feel there's days I just shit on that, and I don't mean to. What I've done lately is just, there's a saying that, you know, you step back and observe. Lots of things I've been learning from my anxiety exposure group too, that I attend weekly online, that, you know, challenges, I mean, we can list so many, it can go on and on. And then there's the changes, you know, that how can we rewrite that in a way where it's like, okay, you know, this feeling, this anxiety and this emotion is so scary, I hate it, you know, or so, but it will, but it's harmless, it will not harm me. You know, find just a better way of coping with it. And this is a therapy thing. It can also be a philosophy too. It could be, it's a practice. Things come and go, just like a river, you know. I learned lately, like the river method, that, I don't know if I can find it, but anyways, it doesn't matter. That you see things, you see a lot of these feelings, emotions, or a combination of things, even junk that can be like streaming down like the river. The only thing about it is that it doesn't stay, it just streams by. It might stay for a while, right? But anyways, that's one method that I I found helpful, especially to a particular anxiety of mine. And yeah, so that practice I think helps with inner peace. And I often don't always know why I don't want, when there's something new on TV or something new that someone say I ought to check it out or so, and by now it's like, why haven't you checked that out? Not that I was leaving them responsible for just making me feel like, oh, do you have to ask me that? Or is it really so bad? Is it hurting you that I didn't see that or so? And I think this is where the unleashed struggles of communication is coming in now. So I might as well talk about that too. And oh yeah, another method is that, there's this beach ball that is filled up with air in it, and you try to hold it down in the water, right? Well, the same with emotions or so, that you can hold it back, you can how would you say, hold it in for as long as you want to, but eventually it's just better just to let the ball come back up to the surface and float. So anyway, unleashed struggles of communications. And I bring this up as well because it is one of the types of training I've been going through lately too, well, for almost a couple years now, that and I don't always go live, I'm not always accountable, and you know what, that's okay. I'm okay to say that. It doesn't make me irresponsible, it doesn't make me, it doesn't mean I'm not trainable anymore, it does not mean that. I just decided not to go on that day. Or so okay, yeah. Another way I can think about it is like unfinished businesses, that does that ever really end, right? I mean, is how we've found the end side or the end of the earth just yet, right? I mean, does that ever happen? No, we just, depending on what it is, whatever unfinished business that any of us have, a lot of it has to do with and it's pretty habitual. It can be that, sometimes we are moving on, we're trying to be present, and that's what's important. You're not trying to live in the past or future. Somehow though, when you fall back, or something is said to you, or you saw something that reminded you of something that kind of made you go back in time or so, that and it kind of makes you stuck, right? How most of us were brought up and how we were conditioned to, to do particular things. And usually when you hear somebody else just saying, oh my God, I can't stand this person, they're such fucking assholes, or they're such, I hate them, they're bad or something. I mean, who really, I guess it's safe to say, from some of us it wasn't intentional, but we've had said those things, right? And while somebody else says that, like, say for example, your parents, are talking about or even arguing about, and you just don't know who's taking most of the blame, or something like that. And yeah, that's the thing. Some of us were raised to just almost feel the same way, just like, yeah, I'm really fucking mad at him now too, so I've always like sided with a particular person about this other person. But then But then now, this is where perspective, steps in, comes in, and where, nobody's ever good or bad. There's no just right or wrong. It just probably just a particular relationship or scenario with a particular individual is just, it's not just sustainable for them, or it's not sustainable for them anymore. Doesn't make any of them an asshole. It's just that they just can't be together anymore. One of the things I'm just like learning and setting, I don't want to say putting straight, or just kind of like rescripting now. Someone may have done something very like reckless and just cruel, or I don't know where I'm going at this, seriously. I don't know, I know I got this. More popcorn. No, just, I heard it in a Zoom chat a couple days ago that, yeah, so nobody ever really comes off as good or bad, it just, and not to say, thinking in black and white, all or nothing or so. I mean, it happens, right? Until you find that shade of gray, But anyways, what you think they've done maybe that was out of line at some point. Maybe they did it, you just don't find yourself doing that, and maybe this person meant to hurt somebody's feelings, I mean, there are those who actually do mean it. They know what they're doing, and they don't care if they hurt somebody's feelings. They just, there's just they have no morals. There's no conscience. There's no heart to it. For somebody though who does have a heart, I mean, and did not intentionally mean to do any of that. I mean, no. Why should anybody suffer, get punished, or so, for anything that what they did is anything there was human, right? Now, depending on what it is, again, going back to the depending, it just helps. That's where you just get helped about how you want to associate yourself, and how you just want to reach out to somebody saying, look, being assertive instead of passive aggressive, yeah. Look, you would say to somebody, look, for some reason, I did not appreciate that, did not sound or feel good to me, and I would really like it if you didn't, say that to me. And then luckily, I guess oddly enough, or surprisingly enough to that person, that's okay, I did not realize that. And so, and you could tell it wasn't intentional. And so, people could say things, they could say things, and it's, not gonna curse you, or even, it doesn't mean anything. It just, sometimes, it's hard to take in other people's opinions, right? Because we're all entitled to our own opinion. For some reason, if there's somebody's opinion that just didn't matter to me, it's not that that's maybe where I get rigid or so. And, we're all responsible for our actions that we take in life, right? And especially when the words and actions are aligned or not aligned, that's what makes it very gibberish or so. Yeah, so I mean, we're all responsible for our actions, right? We're not supposed to be responsible for anyone else's, right? So when it comes to something that's just been going on, and you just been biting your tongue for so long about it, and you're just thinking, you know what, I need to say something, and this is where I have to practice and take deep breaths and just practice saying, okay, all I have to do is be assertive. I might get yelled at. I don't know. They may not like what I have to say, but I'm going to use a different approach with them than what the last person did, right? Because that's a marriage condition. I mean, that has nothing to do with me. I have to somehow though bring up, look, I'm not here to accuse anybody or blame anybody, because that doesn't feel good. I would hate that too, right? We all have our problems, we all have our issues, and you're not a bad person for it. Nobody is. It's just we all have different ways of dealing with them. And so I would say, yeah, you know, my struggle with communication can still be there for sure. But I've found ways of unleashing and practicing and just to stop and step back and observe that, like, okay, no matter what happens, no matter what is said or done, I'm gonna be okay. You're still going to live. You just may have to look into other alternatives if this person, you know, doesn't agree to, I don't know, do something that will help you with your environment. And I guess what I'm, if you don't know what I'm getting at by now, it's just when you're living under the same roof, you know, with somebody, and when it comes to somebody like me, right? And my partner, you know, we don't have that many things. We don't. However, we don't have our own place to expand them out in. And so I just think it's important for every person that you're living with to, you know, get what they want, right? And, you know, you can't force them to do things. And that goes for anything. You know, I just think taking a different approach over a particular subject, instead of fighting with somebody about it and blaming them for things, is something I've unlearned and will certainly do and keep in mind for, you know, future circumstance. So anyways, I think that's pretty much all I have for to say. And yeah, just say, look, I had this unfinished business. I know I'm not responsible for, like I said, we're not responsible for anyone else's actions. However, I feel I held you I created this story in my mind. I kept it that way. I you know, barely said anything, you know, maybe once or twice, but I barely, you know, I didn't continue addressing it. And so I held you responsible, you know, within that way somehow. And I did not mean to. So, you know, this is how I would like our relationship to be, excuse me. But, so yeah, that's, my talk on communications and importance of inner peace. And when you're able to communicate, especially, I mean, when you're able to do anything, then that's when, you know, inner peace and is aligned with everything else, right? Then then finally you're happy. But things get out of line after, you know, every now and then, right? I mean, life isn't always such a straight line, you know? There's this, I like what a friend of mine, I said, yeah, just go gaily forward, you know? Just, you know, go many directions as you want and just find what's right for you. So yeah, so that's what I wanted to talk about and blog about today. And I think I've said enough for, so yeah, if, again, if you, like what you see, and please feel free to like and share and subscribe, and then hit the bell, because I understand you get notified of every new video that I will put out there. So, all right, take care, everybody. Hope you're well, and may you always have inner peace, and always be able to communicate in the best way you can. So, take care.